Okay, watch this. The real Annalise Michelle is going to unblock the video, and then everybody's going to shut the heck up. Just sit back and wait. And me and Jennifer Carpenter belong together. And people are going to click like on it after. Just wait. God's going to give me Emily and Jennifer Carpenter because all the nice things I did for Tabitha when she was alive. During the video. See, she already has her. She's already telling me that she's doing this.
He who commands you is he orders you thrown down from the highest heaven into the depths of hell. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I now command you. Tell me your name. Hear, therefore, and fear, Satan, enemy of the faith. Give me your name, demon. Names. Ancient serpents. Depart from the servant of God. Tell me your 6 names. We are the ones who dwell within. But you shut your head with Queen of the Puppet and
Everybody tell my computer's in your mouth. Watch.
And I am Lucifer, the devil in the flesh.
Father Lord is correct. Watch. It's going to be proven again.
Tell me your name. He who commands you is he who orders you thrown down from the highest heaven into the depths of hell. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. I now command you. Tell me your name. Hear, therefore, and fear, Satan, enemy of the faith. Give me your name, demon. Names.
God does not want you with someone.
Depart from the servant of God. Tell me your 6 names. We are the ones who dwell within. But you shut your head with Queen of the Puppet and anointed the paraffin and you die. And I am Lucifer, the devil in the flesh.
exorcism of Emily Rose is based off of the real exorcism of a young woman named Annalise Michel. She was a devout Catholic woman who was possessed by 5 different demons. She would convulse and hallucinate randomly, and she claimed that demons were whispering in her ears. In the end, she underwent about 67 exorcisms. Some lasted an old German woman who was said to be possessed in 1842. It all started when she began to experience paranormal activity going on in her house. Soon after the haunting started, she would slip in and out of these trance-like states. It took the priest 2 years before the demons were finally expelled from her body. So for 2 years, she was tortured by the demons inside of her. In fact, apparently she would vomit blood, glass, and nails. That sounds very painful. After a number of exorcisms, this woman was finally freed. It was revealed that she was being possessed by a widow who went crazy and murdered her family and then buried them in a field. Moving on to number 9, we have the exorcism of Gina. In 1990, a teenager from Florida by the name of Gina underwent an exorcism. In fact, her exorcism was broadcasted on the ABC network for millions of people to watch. In the end, 29 million people ended up tuning in. During the exorcism, Gina was strapped to a chair and tried to fight back a number of times. She would bark at the priest and yell out when he would press a cross against her forehead.
I therefore enjoin every unclean spirit, each devil, each partner of Satan.
As the prayers intensify, so do Gina's physical reactions. The teen's doctor ties her arms and legs to the chair.
Here and take flight at the
In the end, it was found that she was being possessed by a number of demonic spirits, including one named Zion and one named Minga. In our 8th spot today, we have the exorcism of George Lukens. In 1788, a woman named Sarah Bauer reported English tailor George Lukens to the church and begged them to help him. George's behavior was very alarming to her, and she knew he was possessed. He would go into these fits where he would scream and sing loudly in different voices. He would also make inhuman noises and sing church songs backwards. On Friday the 13th of that year, 7 priests performed an exorcism on George, during which he barked and growled. In the end, the 7 priests commanded the demons in George to leave. Thankfully, it worked. All of a sudden, George snapped out of the state and said, "Bless Jesus." He then recited a prayer, and they knew the demons were finally cast out of his body. Coming in at number 7, we have Clara Germaina Seeley. In 1906, a 16-year-old from South Africa, Clara Seeley, decided to make a pact with the devil, which obviously went wrong because she ended up getting possessed. During her possession, she would behave erratically, growl, speak in tongue, exhibit superhuman strength, and would even tear the clothes off of her own body. In fact, when the priests were performing the exorcism, the holy water they splashed on her would literally burn her skin. And she even levitated in front of 170 witnesses. In the end, a noxious smell left her body, and that's when she was freed from the demon that was possessing her. Moving on to number 6, we have Michael Taylor. Sadly, this exorcism did not end well for Michael or his family. It was 1974, and Michael was a 31-year-old father of 5 children and husband to Christine Taylor. Everything was going fine until one day he just snapped. He had a huge public outburst and started screaming at everyone and was being belligerent to his wife. According to a witness, she said, and I quote, "Suddenly I glanced at Mike and his whole features changed. He looked almost beast-like. He kept looking at me and there was a really wild look in his eyes. I knew that only the name of Jesus would save me, and I just started saying over and over again, Jesus. I firmly believe that I was only by calling on his name that I was not killed." Michael ended up undergoing a number of exorcisms. One night, a bunch of priests spent hours casting out 40 demons from him. They knew there were 3 more demons inside of him: murder, madness, and violence. But they were all exhausted, so they went home and planned to resume the following day. That night, he attacked and killed his wife. Police found him shortly after, wandering the streets covered in blood. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the possession of Julia. Now, this is a fairly recent case of possession. In 2008, a woman named Julia became possessed. Apparently, Julia was the queen of a satanic cult, and one night got attacked by a demon. Immediately, she knew she needed help and went to a local priest. But the priest was like, "Hell to the no, I'm not dealing with this." And so she reached out to a psychiatrist named Richard Gallagher. Gallagher then analyzed her behavior and knew she wasn't mentally ill, but was indeed possessed. During their meeting, items would fly off the shelves in his office, and Julia would speak in tongue and share intimate details about Richard that she couldn't have possibly known. When she did undergo her exorcism, she got very violent. She had super strength, she levitated, and changed the temperature in the room. That's insane. In our fourth spot, we have the exorcism of Laura. This is another fairly recent case of possession. Back in 2015, a woman named Laura from Argentina became possessed. In fact, her entire exorcism was filmed. During the exorcism, we could see Laura writhing in pain and contorting her body. She also screams a number of profanities and bangs her head on the ground. While the priests are trying to get the demons out of her, she screams "no" out loud in pain. The exorcism finally comes to an end when she begins crying and then falls backwards exhausted. Thankfully, after all of this, she was freed from the demons possessing her. In our third spot, we have the exorcism of Rosa. In 2015, a man named Father Amorth took on the possession case of a woman named Rosa. Rosa was in her late 30s when weird things began to happen to her. She was acting different and would constantly have outbursts. Things got so bad that her family took her to see Father Amorth. He ended up performing 9 or more exorcisms on her. During the exorcisms, Rosa's body would throb. She would thrash violently, she would foam from the mouth, and she would try to attack the bystanders. She even would talk to the father in Latin when she didn't even speak the language. In the end, the exorcism was successful, and Father Amorth determined that the cause of her possession was due to a curse that her brother's girlfriend put on her. Both her brother and the girlfriend were members of a demonic cult, and the girlfriend was a witch. In our second spot today, we have Anna Eklund. This is another very famous exorcism case. Anna Eklund was an American woman who in 1928 became possessed and underwent a number of exorcisms. During her exorcisms, things would happen like she would hiss or howl like an animal. She would float in the air, and whenever holy water would touch her skin, it would burn her skin right off. She would also climb up her bedroom walls and speak in tongues. This all started when she was 14 years old, but got worse as she got older. Now, the first exorcism took place when she was only 14, and it was a success, but only for a short period of time, because she became possessed again in 1928. After that, Anna underwent 30 exorcisms, but all of them failed. So they decided to send her to St. Joseph's Church in Iowa to see if they could get the demons out of her. While there, she apparently would throw up 20 to 30 times a day, and it reeked. It was so bad that nuns had to take 15-minute shifts with her, or else they would fall ill. In the end, it was discovered that Anna got possessed due to a curse that her father and her aunt put on her. How messed up is that? Her aunt was apparently a witch that mixed potions in with her food that caused her to become possessed. And in our number one spot today, we have Roland Doe. The case of Roland Doe is the true story that inspired the movie The Exorcist. It all began in the late 1940s in Washington, D.C. with a 13-year-old named Roland Doe. We don't actually know his last name, so they just gave him the last name Doe. Other people call him Ronald, so that's not his real name. Anyways, the poor boy lost his Aunt Harriet, who he loved and shared a special connection to. Shortly after her death in 1949, Roland started to experience strange things. He would hear scratching coming from the floors and walls of his room, and things around him would move on their own. Roland's family began to worry about him, so they went to a local Catholic priest for help. They then decided to perform an exorcism on Roland. Upon doing so, Roland would convulse badly. He even managed to rip out a spring from the mattress that he was strapped down on. He then took the spring and slashed one of the priests with it. A few days later, scratches began to appear all over Roland's body. In fact, at one point, an X appeared scratched into his chest. Another thing they saw was a pitchfork-shaped pattern of red lines move across his body. The marking went from the boy's thigh and moved down to his ankle. The priest, after analyzing Roland, noticed a strange pattern in his behavior. During the day, he was calm and normal, but at night, he would get wild and scream and act belligerent. Every night, Roland would undergo an exorcism. It was believed that he was possessed by 10 demons. Finally, on April 18th in 1949, the priest managed to expel Satan from his body. They shouted at Satan, saying that Saint Michael would battle him for Roland's soul. 7 minutes later, Roland came out of a trance and simply said, he's gone. After that, everything seemingly went back to normal. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments below which one of these exorcism possession case creeped you up the most. And now, speaking of comments, let's move on to our comment shout-out portion. I'll be shouting out comments from the video, top 10 people in history that could be aliens. Justin Cameron commented, true story. Every time I order a pizza, an alien beams down and steals my pizza. Just reminds me of the guy, what is it, the alien from Fairly Odd Parents? And he was just like,
I want him to be the king of Israel. The world of America needs a change. Americans have swelled heads. And during the day, during my sleep, I'm pointing the camera at the door. I will put him through an accident so he knows that there is. Are we in love? Is it you?
That you see all over Jimi Hendrix playing. Jimi Hendrix is playing. And now your opening lick goes from this to something like this. Amazing. Now this is where things get really interesting. A lot of people typically end this opening phrase with, and that sounds nice, but there's a little more to it than that. The first being, when you play that 5th fret of the D string again, slight bend on those notes. And this is super important. When you land on the 7th fret of the D string, lots of vibrato. Adds so much soul to the phrase. But hold on, there's more to it. The way Hendrix falls off of the phrase. There's this really subtle but essential kind of.
We missed that movie tonight.
Where after he plays that 7th fret of the D string, pull off to the 5th fret, pull off to the open string. And then you do the same sort of thing on the A string. And the more overdriven your tone is, the easier this probably is, because you have more sustain on the note. So then, you know, you can just simply hammer on with your fretting hand, without even using your picking hand. Which takes a bit of practice. Once you get it,
she wants another
the timing is da 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 da. And that's the opening lick. So now let's quickly talk about the wah pedal. You want to swell into that first note. That's the most important.
I don't know if she's happy or not. She has to tell me. I need to know. Because my connection feels strong with Jennifer Carpenter. I feel the connection with this just by looking at her videos.
Your Honor, I offer into evidence this photograph as People's Exhibit 3A. Having done so, the people are listening.
Photograph is entered into evidence.
She looks lost. Unhappy. sad.
She said it was terrible to hear the clinking of stones and forks. His arms.
I'm sweating out the rest of my parasite infection. I can see it in her eyes that she's sad. In all of her pictures, she looks sad. I can make her happy. She can just open the door when she's here, because I'll know who's coming in. Me and Dexter can probably be good friends. Nope, she still looks sad. She doesn't look happy with Dexter. It's a fake smile. You have to work together in a relationship. I'm seeing her in pictures that she doesn't look happy with her life. I won't look like that, Dexter. I'm about a 5th degree black belt. I'm sure you probably cheated on her. In every video, a lot of her videos, she has a sad look, an unhappy look. I can see sadness in her eyes. Yep, I still see sadness. She's not happy.
In 2006, Jennifer Carpenter was an up-and-coming actress whose luck changed virtually overnight when she booked the second lead on Showtime's breakout serial killer drama, Dexter. Carpenter frequently stole the spotlight from Michael C. Hall with her impassioned turn as Dexter's foster sister, Deborah, a homicide detective whose caseload often overlapped with her duplicitous brother's own crimes. It's been almost 7 years since Dexter's divisive finale episode aired, and
They're just too different, that's all. Not everybody's meant for each other. I'd be willing to go with whatever she likes. Changes. You have to make changes in a relationship. Paul Walker's in the sky. You can hear his car. That's my car. All right, I think we're going to watch The Possession of Emily Rose tonight. Okay, you won't be able to see me. I don't know if you'll be able to see me or not. You might be able to. But I'm going to make a widescreen for the movie. Swallow that. Should have been Annalise Michelle in the movie instead of Emily. Annalise Michelle. She wants it remade. Swallow that honey rock. I think I'm sweating out the rest of that medicine. It's not good for me. It wasn't good for Annalise either. Probably
You're the medical examiner?
part of the problem. I was forced to take medication.
Mr. Rose.
Watch, everybody's gonna be screwed. No, I'm getting Annalise Michelle. Just kicking everybody out, even out of my phone. We need Father Moore in the movie again.
Sorry, Mr. Rose. But I cannot state conclusively that the cause of death was natural. Your daughter, she...
Excuse me, Father. Father Moore. You'll have to come with me.
I'm here at Crescent County Courthouse this afternoon as we show you Father Richard.
Well, parents, they're not talking to the police.
Do we charge him?
No, even a priest admits he ran the show. We need a Christian on this, preferably a Catholic, somebody that knows this shit inside out and who the public will see as unbiased. We're going after a holy man.
Ethan Thomas. He's not Catholic, though. Methodist, I think.
Freedom of
but the guy
religion.
practically lives at church, choir practice.
Freedom of
Sunday
belief.
school.
Yeah, he's no choir boy in the courtroom. I've seen him tear people up on cross. He's a shrewd son of a bitch.
All right, pull him off whatever he's doing. He's lead prosecutor.
I was friends with Kim Jong-un at school.
There's ambition. She never stops. She even works while she drinks. Gentlemen, you know Aaron Brunner?
Of course.
Hello.
I was so sure that Van Hopper would fry, but you proved me wrong, lady.
The system work, that's all.
Gentlemen, you'll excuse me. Have you seen the news about this priest?
I heard something about an exorcism gone bad, but I don't know the details.
The DA charged him with negligent homicide. They offered a very reasonable plea bargain. The priest turned it down.
Carl, do not ask me to take
The
this too.
Archdiocese specifically requested you
Why me?
because they follow the Van Hopper trial like everybody else. They think you're smart and convincing. They want you to ask the priest to reconsider a deal.
What if he won't? This case sounds like a quagmire. If I'm smart, I'll leave it alone.
Aaron, the Van Hopper case got you back on the fast track. Once again, you're a rising star. Shiver sleep.
Tangri Martini Drive. What do you say?
I'm saying you do this for me, and the rising star keeps rising. Case is yours.
Just how high do I get to rise this time? I've been junior partner for too long now, Carl. It's not like other firms haven't been calling.
Aaron.
I want my name on the door right next to yours.
Okay. Try to get the deal. If the priest won't do it and this does go to trial, the Archdiocese feels his testimony could be an embarrassment. So under no circumstances is he to testify.
Of course. I put James Van Hopper on the stand. He'd be marking time on death row instead of sunbathing on Miami Beach. His tab.
Good morning, I'm Aaron Bruner. May I sit down?
Brought the chair for my public defender. Guess they left it here when they decided I wasn't going to kill myself with it.
My firm represents the Archdiocese.
Yes. Yes, I was expecting them to send someone. Why did they choose you?
I wanted this case.
So you like the spotlight?
I'm used to it. I defended James Van Hopper.
Now you've come here to further your celebrity.
No. I'm here to make
Possessions
something
are real.
for my firm.
Are you a Catholic?
No. I'm an agnostic, I guess. I'm not really sure.
If you're not sure, then you are one. I'm sorry, but I don't think you're the right attorney for me. I think I'll stick with my public defender.
He can't get the DA to get you a better deal. I can.
I won't be making any plea agreement.
If you don't, the Archdiocese won't post your bail. You'll be stuck in here for the duration of the trial. Father, do you understand how long they can put you away for this?
Someone explain to me.
The district attorney's office doesn't like it when religion holds itself above the law. And this prosecutor, Ethan Thomas, you're going to need somebody hungry and smart and aggressive to even have a chance.
And what would your strategy be to defend me against such a formidable man?
That depends
On what?
on how you want to be defended. What's your main concern? Other than staying out of jail, is it how you're being portrayed in the media?
I don't care about my reputation. I'm not afraid of jail. What I care about is telling Emily Rose's story. I want people to hear what only I can tell.
And what is that?
What really happened to Emily and why. If I let you defend me, will you promise to let me testify and tell the truth about what happened to Emily?
And what is the truth you would tell? That the ritual killed her? Was it your fault she died?
No.
All right. Then I'll let you tell her story, but only if you agree to let me do whatever else it takes to win. I'm not used to this kind of place. I'm sure our life is very strange to you. Not so strange. I grew up in a little town. Our house wasn't as nice or as big as this. My mother, she raised me alone. She was a school teacher, so we had very little money. A wonderful thing to be. That was Emily's dream, to be a teacher. That's why she went away to the university. A lot of cats live here. There are 11 now, I think. Emily always brought them home ever since she was a little girl. She couldn't leave a stray abandoned. Before these troubles began, was Emily a happy girl? Oh, yes. Before she went away to university, my Emily was so very happy.
What is going on? Mama.
Is it?
It's a scholarship. They pay for it. They pay for everything.
This is your dream, Emily.
I
You'll be
love you,
leaving
Jennifer.
us. It's okay. It'll be okay. I'm going to show this to your father.
Counsel, thanks for meeting me.
Sure. Can I buy you a drink, Mr. Thomas? He makes an excellent martini.
Just water for me.
So, the judge thinks we should offer your client a new plea agreement. Apparently, she feels the community might be better served without this trial.
How do you feel about it? Personally.
My job is to represent the interests of the people and make an effort to be objective.
I ask because I know you're a churchgoer. Now you're set to prosecute a man of God.
Your priest broke the law. The young girl is dead. If he's a man of God, then personally, I think he's even more subject to the laws of moral behavior and punishment. If it were up to me, he'd get no deal at all.
What about forgiveness and compassion? Isn't that part of your creed? Or does that just get in the way of your work?
If you have compassion for your client, counselor, you persuade him to accept this. The charge is reduced to reckless endangerment. 12 months in a county jail, reducible to 6 plus probation, if he can stay out of trouble. Somehow I expect he can manage that. Please understand me. If he refuses, I will seek the maximum.
Father Moore's made it clear there will be no plea agreement. He will not lie. He will not admit to something he is not guilty of. And he was never neglectful of Emily.
Never neglectful. Have you seen the postmortem photographs?
He's proving that
Go to trial.
possessions are real.
My client
in
wants
this
the
movie.
public to know the
Father
truth.
Morris.
Good. So do I. Have a good night, counsel.
Let the record show that the defendant and his counsel are present and that the jury is seated. Mr. Thomas, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ethan Thomas. I'm the Assistant District Attorney, and I represent the people. In the case before you, the evidence will show that the victim had a serious medical condition that demanded medical treatment. We will prove that the victim's condition rendered her physically and psychologically incapable of caring for herself. Her care was then wholly entrusted to that man, the defendant, Father Richard Moore. She became his responsibility, and he betrayed that responsibility by persuading her to abandon her medical treatment in favor of religious treatment. A ritual exorcism performed by the defendant, allegedly to cure the victim by ridding her of demonic forces. We will demonstrate that this course of action directly resulted in the victim's death. I said a moment ago that I represent the people. We all know what that means, but it's a little abstract. Ms. Bruner, the attorney for the defense, is seated right next to the man she represents. And I stand here to represent the people. That's not really why I stand here today. I'm here on behalf of someone who can't sit at a table and look at you every day and gain your sympathy. Someone who can't take the stand to testify and tell you what happened in her own words. A young girl that could have been your daughter, could have been mine. The girl who trusted Father Richard Moore with her life. This is what she looked like before the defendant began his religious treatment. This is a photograph taken of her on the day that she died. I stand here for Emily Rose, who died horribly at age 19. You won't be able to see Emily sitting here day after day during this trial. But I hope you'll remember her as she was when she was alive, and full of hopes and dreams. And as she was when Father Richard Moore was finished with her and left her to die. Thank you.
Is the defense prepared to make its opening statement?
Your Honor, I would like to reserve my opening statement until the presentation of the defense's case.
As is your privilege. Prosecution may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people called Dr. Edith Vogel.
I've known Emily her entire life. I took care of all of the Rose girls.
You describe Emily as you knew her growing up?
She was a bit sickly in her early years. She stayed inside a lot, reading, learning music.
How did she feel about going away to school?
Objection, speculation. The witness is not a psychiatrist.
I'll rephrase. Did you talk to Emily about going off to college?
Yes, she told me she was excited, but nervous that she would be away from her family in the big city. This was an overwhelming change for her.
Did you stay in touch after she went away?
Yes, she wrote me a letter saying that she'd been to a dance and she'd met a boy named Jason. She didn't want her mother to know this, because her mother did not approve of dancing. It warned her about the boys at school.
And did Emily communicate with you again last fall after you received the letter?
Actually, it was her mother. She telephoned me, waking me out of a deep sleep at 4 a.m. She asked me to call Emily at a payphone on the university campus. When Emily answered, she was quite hysterical. First, she just sobbed uncontrollably. But eventually, she calmed down enough to tell me what had happened. She said that she was alone that weekend. Her roommate had gone home. She had awakened. Thought she smelled something burning. There was no alarm, but she got up, afraid there was a fire.
I've loved you ever since this movie. Make your dream happen. You're lost.
Dr. Mueller, what's your position at the University Hospital?
I am chairman of the Department of Neurology.
And after you heard about the dorm room incident, what were your initial thoughts?
At first, I thought perhaps Emily was taking illegal drugs, some type of hallucinogen. But we ran tests and found no trace of drugs in the system. And the more she explained the incident, the more I began to
Sweating out the
suspect
rest of the
something else.
poison.
Epilepsy results from rapid, uncontrolled electrical activity in the brain. In a severe or grand mal seizure, a person may lose consciousness for several minutes and suffer involuntary contractions of all the muscles of the body.
Is it possible for a person suffering from such a seizure to have hallucinations or perceive the things that Emily described?
The muscle contractions could feel like an extreme pressure on the body. And it is certainly possible with all that brain activity for a person to perceive all sorts of strange, violent things.
So, suspecting that Emily was epileptic, how did you proceed?
I administered an electroencephalograph.
What did the EEG reveal?
It showed a possible epileptic focus in the patient's left temporal lobe.
Did this require specific treatment?
Yes, I began a medication schedule for the drug Gambucol. I also advised regular follow-up examinations and further tests, but Emily failed to keep her follow-up appointments.
Did she give any reason for discontinuing these appointments?
Yes, she told me she was convinced that her condition was a spiritual one. It was the conviction of her priest, she said, and she shared his beliefs.
Doctor, was it your impression that Emily had placed her care entirely in Father Moore's
Objection,
hands?
leading witness. Sustained.
After the end of October, did you ask Emily why she had stopped filling her Gambucol prescriptions?
Yes. She said that Father Moore had suggested.
She doesn't look happy with Dexter.
What, in your medical opinion, was the direct result of Father Moore's suggestion?
I firmly believe that Father Moore's suggestion killed her.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness
to
is
her
asserting
death.
outrageous conclusions based on pure hearsay evidence.
Technically correct, but I'll allow it as part of his expert opinion testimony.
It's not love.
Your witness.
Doctor, you said you observed a possible epileptic focus in the temporal lobe. Doesn't this imply that what you observed may not have been an epileptic focus?
Yes, that's also possible.
And would Father Moore's advice to stop taking Gambucol be good advice if Emily were in fact not epileptic?
Of course. That's not the case here. She was epileptic.
Really? When Emily saw objects move on their own, felt an invisible presence on top of her, was she experiencing symptoms typical of epilepsy?
Not typical, no.
Are they typical indications of any other condition, say, for example, psychosis?
Yes, I would say that's correct.
But isn't psychosis an entirely different medical condition from epilepsy?
Yes, in my
So,
experience,
Doctor, aren't
it
you
is.
selectively choosing what parts of Emily's experiences fit your epilepsy diagnosis, while simply ignoring those which might indicate something else?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Withdrawn. No further questions. We have to work fast. You're only giving me an hour for your night.
Listen, before we get started, there's something I have to tell you. Something I should have said to you before I let you take the case. There are forces surrounding this trial. Dark, powerful forces.
I'm an agnostic, remember?
Demons exist, believe it or not. Your involvement in this trial might just open up to their attacks.
Look, Father, I appreciate your concern, but you need to be willing for yourself. Ethan Thomas is using the medical aspects of his case as ammunition for him. I have to be prepared for his attacks, so with what little time we have, I think we need to focus on your defense. Now, what I need from you is more information about Emily's condition, specific details of how it progressed after the door windows.
Well, after the first incident, she was sent to the University Hospital for testing and observation.
Emily once told me that in her dorm room she resisted the demons, but at the hospital they overcame her.
So she believed that her actual possession began that night at the hospital?
Yeah, I think she did. And after that, things just went from bad to worse.
There are spiritual forces. There's a spirit around this trial. Armed forces around this trial. I just gave the demons something to do. So
Emily? Emily?
Don't touch me! Jason, please. Don't leave me.
And I never did leave her. I stayed until the end. So much of what we shared was like a nightmare.
He was doing something she didn't like.
She woke me up, you know, to things I never felt before. Things I never knew I could.
I don't love her ever, love with her ever since the start of this movie. It brought us together. Just let it happen. Please, I'm in so much love with you.
Can you turn that up, please?
Suburban home that police say James Van
I don't think anybody will ever be in love with you as much as I am.
Sources close to the investigation say that Van Hoffer was put in a murder charge in April of last year, later killed.
She doesn't look happy in that relationship either. Goes out hard. Until she gets to the next 2 days. die if she doesn't get to me. This is how much I love her. I just had my last meal.
Glorious prince led from the army of Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle against the princes, powers, and rulers of darkness.
I just had my last water. I just had my last meal. So she has 4 days to get to me. Jennifer Carpenter. My body, my choice. My life. I love her that much. I'm going to see how much she loves me.